Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. Today, my guest is the epitome of finding a solution to a problem and making it better. She's the owner of Dope Minerals, a topical magnesium infused cream that you didn't know your body needed, but you do. Please welcome my friend Gina to the show. What's going on, Gina?
Hey, Biggie, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I guess before we start this, obviously I'm on my lunch break. So I do appreciate you taking some time to come chat with me. What's your go-to sandwich?
Ooh, anything with portobello mushroom.
Okay.
and,
Nice.
and like mozzarella and like a pesto. Oh my God. Yum.
That sounds actually quite delicious.
Right.
So okay, so let's talk a little bit about magnesium and how you discovered it and the benefits of it. Tell your story, because I think it's really interesting because it's something that you've personally experienced, and then once you experienced it, you basically said, hey, there's got to be a better way for this, and I got to make this better for others, not just for myself.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was experiencing like the leg cramps and the insomnia and just the uncomfortableness of being pregnant. And I had gone to a acupuncturist for relief with that. And in that consult, I was telling her about my legs, because my legs was probably the biggest issue for me. They would cramp up so bad, and I couldn't sleep, and I would cry, I would kick, it was awful. And so I was explaining that to her, and she told me I needed magnesium, and I was actually taking an oral supplement. So I was like, well, I'm getting it. And she said, no, you're not getting it enough of it, because when you take an oral supplement, it has to go through your digestive process. So she gave me a magnesium oil, and I looked at her like, what is this stuff? And she said, you're going to rub it on your legs and it'll help. You're getting the magnesium right where you need it. And so I didn't really believe her. But I'm grateful I bought that bottle of oil, because I went home, rubbed it on my legs. I didn't like the way it felt on my skin. It was very, a little bit uncomfortable. It kind of itched, it stung a little bit. But after that kind of subsided, it was the first night that I slept through the whole pregnancy. My legs never jumped. And I was like, what is this stuff? Like, I started putting it all over my body, because I was like, well, if it can do that, let's see what else it can do. And that was the best thing I could have ever done, because I have dealt with anxiety. I was on meds for that. I've dealt with migraines. I was on meds for that. I've dealt with insomnia. I was on meds for that. I've dealt with specifically postpartum depression. I was put on meds for that when I had, after I had my first daughter. And so that's kind of like what really happened. And I started using this every day. But like I said, I really couldn't stand the way it felt on my skin. But I was sleeping, my mood, like just a lot of things started improving for me. And I went on to birth her. And I'll back up a little bit, because with my first 8.5 years ago, I did experience postpartum depression pretty significantly bad, that I was medicated for it. And that was a really rough and dark time. And I was a little nervous about experiencing that again. And I never got it as intense as I did when I was after I had my first. And so I did a lot of research, and it was come to find out, women especially can be extremely deficient in magnesium. And when you go through the skin, you actually will raise your levels faster, because you're bypassing digesting anything. So that's what happened. And I was like, ooh, this is great, but I hate the way it feels on my skin. And so I started playing around. I birthed her. She was probably a couple months old, and I started putting it into a cream to take away the itch and the sting. And here I am now, 6 years later. It takes, you're able to get it into your skin. You're able to, it's mango butter, shea butter, it's butters and oils. So there's no chemicals, there's no junk in it. And my kids use it. We all need magnesium. And when you bypass the digestive process, you actually will absorb it faster, and you can localize it to specific areas like those legs. And it works almost instantly.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And what's cool is that you started the business because of it, because you're like, well, if I'm experiencing this and other people don't know about it, maybe it's something that it's a great way to kind of start. And that's kind of what it's from what I remember when we've chatted in the beginning. That's kind of how it started. You basically were like, well, why? I'm like, I might as well sell this, and no one else knows about this.
Well, and because I started actually before it was the cream, I was making like bath salts and scrubs and salves. I was infusing herbs, and I was going out to little farmers markets, but everybody had the same things that I was dealing with, and that the magnesium was helping me significantly with. They would talk about when they would come to my booth, and I was like, well, I've got to figure out a way to get that. Like, people need this. I'm not the only woman that's experienced postpartum depression. I'm not the only person that's had anxiety or hasn't been able to sleep. Or I was in 2 car accidents. That's the most profound thing too, is I was a walking pharmacy for almost 10 years. In my early 20s, before I ever had children, I was in 2 car accidents. Wow. And I was medicated. That's where the medication really started. And when I got pregnant with my first, I won't take meds. So I dealt with everything. And the same thing with my second. Once I got pregnant with her, I won't take any. I don't take Tylenol. So I had to deal with all the being pregnant on its own is enough, and then having your issues from being in a car accident strenuizes that. Makes it definitely a little bit more difficult. So I couldn't take anything. And then after I had my daughter, the magnesium, like my back, I could sleep at night. I didn't have to, I didn't need any kind of pain med to numb the pain, when the magnesium was relaxing my muscles and allowing me to sleep. And magnesium is responsible for well over 700 productions in our body. It is one of the most important minerals for us, and without it, our health can suffer.
Yeah, and I think I've researched or heard from some of your posts that we don't produce magnesium, so it's like you do need all the as much, to kind of bring into your body, absorb as much to your body as possible. So no, it makes total sense. And it makes sense also that you transitioned, because you went from, kind of doing like, hey, the Kiss My Bath, to kind of saying, hey, I should include this in my product line, to what I'm doing, because obviously it's something that I'm seeing quite a bit of success for myself, for others. So tell me how you went from making this at home, and then you transitioned it from making it at home, and then kind of started going into and actually working with the distributor. Like, how did that process go? At what point did you say, hey, I think I need to go this route? And, and I also, the fact that, you kind of wanted to, how did you even find someone that could actually do this for you? How did that process go?
I was making this in my kitchen. I started in my kitchen. I started doing little farmers markets, and then I grew to more, a little bit bigger shows locally here in Florida, and even was going to Atlanta and doing a show up there, and that was amazing. And I was busy. It was a lot to produce the cream out of the kitchen, and it was becoming a lot for me. And the manufacturer that I now have and have had since I rebranded to Dope Minerals. She's the 3rd one. So it wasn't it is a process. And I was nervous because it's my baby. It's my formula. It's very specific too, because I don't want to, there's no chemicals, there's no synthetics, there's no preservatives. It is very natural. It's vegan. It's made with organic ingredients. So that was difficult in finding someone to replicate that and not deviate from the formula, not want to add other stuff to it. And I had run into that with a couple others. And then this one, she's a small manufacturer in local to the state of Florida. So I went down, met her, and she was able to take the formula and do exactly what I did. And and it's a process for sure. A lot of ups and downs and trials and runs and stuff like that. But and that's the thing, with it being a natural product, that we do deal with the weather and stuff like that, but it still works. The magnesium doesn't evaporate or not hold its form. So, but yeah, it's all natural. That my kids use it, and I was really big about the ingredients, and I didn't want to add anything else just for whatever cost efficient reasons or preservative wise. So I'm very grateful to find somebody. Contracts are very important. Make sure you get your NDA signed and having everything lined up and roles and responsibilities, and make sure you have contracts involved, because you need to protect yourself. You need to protect your formula. I definitely went through an incident, and I learned a lot. And I've never run a business before, so it was a lot of trial and error and just learning as you go. And making a lot of mistakes, but knowing that the mistakes are just learning opportunities to do better and to make sure you don't repeat the same mistakes. But yeah, it was I'm very grateful for my manufacturer. She's amazing. And she's able to produce it just the way I did, literally the same way I did it. I mean, she obviously has a much more efficient way than I did in my kitchen, but yeah, it is a process. And I do encourage anybody doing it. If you have something that you've created and you want to expand it, just do your research, really sit down with the people, and feel them out, make sure that they follow, don't waver. If you really want to if you want it this way, don't waver. But, or whatever you do, just make sure you have contracts and things signed and in place to protect you and your products.
I've always been kind of curious about this. Is it one of those things where you actually are shipping them, like the jars and the labels and all that stuff? Like you're providing them with all that stuff, and they basically, that's part of the deal of like how for their packaging and how they do it, and or are they producing it and then you're actually going back and putting the labeling, or they're doing everything for you, and then when you get it, you basically get your product complete in a box ready for you to actually start distributing and selling?
Yes. So yeah, they do everything that I did here at home. They send me the finished product and then I ship it to the customers.
That's great. That's great. How hard has it been to build awareness about this product and its effectiveness? Because I mean, obviously, till I really didn't know anything about the benefits of magnesium. I can attest as a customer. Obviously I love this product. I actually have about 2 or 3 bottles of it, different versions of it, in my house because we all use it. And so, I mean, how hard has it been to build that awareness and kind of spread and tell people about it?
Social media has been definitely my best friend. And doing shows, getting out there with the people, prior to, 2020, I've been since 2015. So I was able to get in front of as many people as I could, which is, it's very important. And I would have sample jar, little samples so people could try, because nobody would believe you. And I know that because I didn't believe the acupuncturist when she told me it was going to work. So I understood that. And that's why I've always provided, samples for, especially at shows, so people could try it. I mean, I've had people take their shoes off. I've had people almost drop their pants to have it rubbed on the spot that hurts right here. Because they're like, well, if it works, I have this pain right here. And they put it on. And sometimes they didn't even have to leave for it to work. Or they, oh, okay, yeah, I'll be back. And I would say 9 out of 10 of them came back. Be like, I don't know if that's in my head. I'm like, no, it works. and then like you brought it with you. You had people around you, you let them try it, and now they've seen the potential, what it can do. And that's really how I've done this. It's been 6 years, and Instagram and Facebook are really all I've ever used. And I have a wonderful customers, because they're very loyal, very, very loyal. I see them sending it to their mom, to their aunt, to their sister, to whoever. And it's their own testimonies, because realizing how important this mineral is and what it can do for your health. And there's no, you're not popping, you don't have to take anything internally. And I think also too, how beneficial that is for children. I see with my own daughters what it's helped them with, and just making sure they get enough magnesium in their body. And they sleep good. My one daughter is 6 feet tall. So the growing pains, and it helps naturally to help with a lot of the stuff that we deal with. And so, yeah, but really customer testimonies, and them sharing it with their friends, families, and coworkers, and then getting out there and doing shows. I'm a very people person. I was in the restaurant industry for 25 years prior to this. So hospitality and customer service is my thing. People are my, I love people. So it definitely has, it's been amazing. It really, really, truly has to. And that's the other thing too. I get a lot of emails and contacts and running into people, I used it and I slept better that night. And, and I couldn't believe it. So that fills my soul to hear those things too, that something that I did or created is it can be that impactful for others. It's a beautiful thing.
No, I totally agree with that. And it's funny because I remember in even doing shows with you and having people that I know tell me like, "Oh, I have this pain over here." I'm like, "Oh, go see Gina over there, put it on." And then I remember them having coming back and like, "Hey, it works." And I was
Mm,
like, "Yeah, it does work. I wouldn't tell you if it didn't." Now, we've talked about the magnesium part of it, but there's another element that you also have, and so I'm kind of curious about this as well. Like, so how soon after your initial magnesium formula did you start working on a CBD infused version of it as well? And also, how did you hit any roadblocks, with the CBD aspect of it?
oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, I wanted to, when I first started with doing the infusions and the herbs, and I got really into, just plant medicine, natural healing with different things. And I've always been an advocate for cannabis. I've seen how it's helped people. And so I knew I wanted to include it in my products. And being here in Florida, when I first started with the magnesium, that, the laws weren't allowing for that. So I just waited. And then the farm bill passed, and CBD was, definitely exploding. More research was coming out, more benefits were coming out, which I knew. So I just waited. And then once when we found the manufacturer, it was, that was one of the biggest things was like, we want to add this, are you, and we looked at, law, based on the laws, we were able to, do what we could do. And we did. But yes, dealing with banking and insurance, and it definitely was it's interesting, that is for sure. And a lot of red tape was something brand new. A lot of red tape was something that's still, deemed as criminal sometimes, not sometimes, all the time. And so that working through that and educating people, just as I've had to educate them on the benefits of magnesium, which more people might have been familiar with because it is, a mineral that we need. And then including CBD into it, combining the two, they're two very powerful elements that can help you. Why would we not use them? In my opinion, I think like if that's an alternative to maybe some pharmaceuticals that do have side effects and actually can be detrimental to your well-being, this is an alternative. This is a much more natural, I feel safer alternative to use that can provide a lot of uh, improvements to your health and your well-being. And so adding it but also just as I am with the formula, where we get it from, where it's sourced, making sure it's a clean product. It's not, yeah, that it's worth it in the long run because there's no chemicals, there's no, very, very strict about where it comes from, how it's produced, how it's processed, the whole nine, because that's important too. If we're going to use something, I want to make sure it's being used in its most natural healing element and not being bastardized or, synthetic or whatever. And that's important. And I think people want that now. You're seeing a big move for, natural ways of healing and really taking your health into your own hands and being mindful of what you're putting in and on your body.
Yeah, and your CBD, just to kind of note, there's no THC. Is that correct? Is that the proper? So there's not like it's one of those where like your kids can take it and all of that. There's a natural format to that, correct?
I use full spectrum CBD, so which means that they're utilizing the whole plant, and as opposed to isolating the molecules. So there can be traces, but there's legal limits that you stay below, and I am below those.
Okay. See, that's good to know. And that's one of the things I've always been kind of
Mm-hmm.
curious about when it comes to that. What so let's talk about, because obviously at when once the CBD aspect of it came into about there, obviously you decided to change from Kiss My Bath Essentials to Dope Minerals. What was that? Was that just because obviously you were now going into a new area? What caused the I guess the idea of the name change? And then was there any issues with that having to make a transition over when you did that?
Well, yeah, there was circumstances to why the name was being changed, and then obviously adding the CBD was a big part of it, and wanting it to be more of because when I was Kiss My Bath, not everything had magnesium in it, and then I rebranded that part and had everything that was just magnesium. I dropped a few products, added a few more. And then once Dope Minerals came about, it them dropped even some more products, brought in a few different things, but added CBD to it, to kind of keep it in the realm of what the brand we were trying to come up with. But yeah, Dope Minerals was it's funny how it came about. But yeah, the name was brilliant to me. And yes, I did get a little pushback with it. But I also had a business called Kiss My Bath Essentials, so I don't mind.
You like a good
And
pun.
yeah, and so but I think also too, what I found was my customers, because I had already been in business with the magnesium element as well. And CBD was really new. It was a new thing. And people were like, well, I don't know if I should, can I use this? I want to try it. And they trusted my product already with the magnesium because they've seen the results and it had been working for them. And so once I added the CBD, it was like, oh, I'll try this because I trust this. And I'm grateful for that, because I'm, to be able to transition from something. And I was nervous about it because I'm changing my whole name, everything. But I may have gotten a pushback from a few people because they didn't like the name. And I was like, okay, I can respect your opinion, but I'm going to move forward. And I did. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I did. And, not that you can't please everybody. And so I'm grateful I did it. It's been fun. I will say, I say entrepreneurship is like riding a roller coaster with no seatbelt. And you just got to hold on sometimes and keep going, and it's not for everybody. But for us who have done it, and perseverance and challenges do come about. But my heart's in this. Helping people is really important to me, and I've been very grateful to be supported by so many, and to be able to tell my story, especially for women. We burn through our magnesium much faster, so we do really experience a lot of the health implications that can happen when you're deficient in magnesium, our hormones, our cycles, birthing children. So we are much more susceptible to being severely deficient in magnesium, and we are the ones who end up getting medicated, when really just getting more magnesium, I promise you, it will improve your health. It's so important for us. Your mood, your sleep, your anxiety, your blood pressure, migraines, to cramps, to your thyroid, to your estrogen levels, your insulin levels. Like, I can go on and on and on for why every single person needs magnesium. But as someone who's experienced what it is to be very deficient in it, and how it really did affect my health, to now getting more of it and how that has improved my health, I knew I couldn't. I would scream it from the mountaintops for every woman to make sure they get adequate amounts of magnesium.
Yeah, and I appreciate the passion. I think this is one of the reasons why. I mean, hearing you tell your story and do that, it's always fun to be able to be the one outside looking in. So I get to see it when you're across from me or somewhere, and I get to hear you tell the story, because obviously that is something that when you're genuine and people see it, especially on one of those face to face, I think it's very important to be able to see that. And I just think it adds to it, because it obviously shows that you're very passionate about it. And so no, I totally understand that. And then the other aspect that I want to point out, just because obviously the benefits between, I mean, you can use the magnesium version of it, and then there's the magnesium CBD. Obviously the magnesium CBD, usually, at least from my understanding or my own personal experience, it moves they both are very effective. The magnesium with CBD obviously moves, I would say, is a more accelerated relief, I would say, compared, it almost like penetrates and goes a lot faster. One thing that I find very interesting is the fact that the importance, because it used to be like a wives' tale back in the day, when your kid was sick, you would put Vicks Vapor Rub on the bottom of your feet, and a lot of people just don't understand how much your feet, how much the absorption is done through your feet when you put magnesium on your feet. Obviously, if you do that, if you buy some Dope Minerals, make sure you put socks on, because you're going to be slipping and sliding like a roller skater. I know my dog dislikes it when Kristen wears it, because she'll start sliding everywhere in the middle of the night. But it's amazing the absorption that you get from the bottoms of your feet, and the effectiveness of it.
Oh, definitely. The feet are, I tell everybody, if you don't put it anywhere else, put it on the bottom of your feet at night, especially. You'll sleep better than you've ever slept. we absorb at a much faster rate at the bottom of our feet, and then every single nerve in our body ends in our feet. So you're able to kind of like really get it through your whole system. And then with the CBD, when you think about it, magnesium is anti-inflammatory. CBD is anti-inflammatory. So for people who experience, severe inflammation, the magnesium, or especially arthritis, the magnesium and CBD is very soothing for that. Also, CBD is extremely beneficial for your neurological system. That's why you see the reports about, the seizures and Parkinson's and stuff like that. So people who deal with neurological systems or nerve issues, the CBD is extremely beneficial. And they both work on different pathways in the body. There are people who are not open to CBD, and I completely respect that. And that's why I have the magnesium only. Everything has magnesium, and there's just, there's other products that have it plus the CBD. So it's a personal preference. I think the more research that comes out about CBD and cannabis in its full, I think people will, start really taking this as a medicinal way of healing certain things that they want to, if they want to approach it from a more natural perspective.
No, I totally get that. What lessons would you say you've learned from starting and growing this business?
Be very open to change and open to learning, and be very be passionate about what you're doing too. I've always been a believer, if you love what you do, it's really not work. As overwhelming as it can be and as tumultuous as it can be, I truly love this. So if you truly love something and you want to build something, you'll be supported, but it doesn't mean that you won't experience challenges or mistakes, and you can't beat yourself up for the mistakes because maybe you didn't know, but it's a learning process. I've never run a business before. I openly admit that, and I've learned a lot, and I've been in business for 6 years, and it's been an interesting journey. And I think it takes a lot of faith in doing it. And as you know, there's ups and downs with it all, but go after it. I started this with a tax return. And I used to be afraid to spend money. I used to like almost hoard that tax return, and then I would have nothing to show for it. And this one year, I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens. And I literally was like, I'll just do little farmer markets on Saturday mornings. And, I just had my second daughter. I wanted to be home. I didn't want to leave the home to work, but I could bring her with me. And that was what was really dope, is I could bring her, wear her. My older one would help come, and we would set up and just did it. And it's been amazing. It's scary sometimes, but you got to face the fear. You got to go out, when it's your calling or it's your purpose. And I have a lot of faith in it now, much more faith, I think, even from the beginning. And I had to start with faith. So your faith builds, and you just don't give up when, it'll work for you. Just got to have that faith that it's your purpose. And as I've really understood that, I trusted a lot more, and I trust what I'm doing. I enjoy what I do. I love helping people. And it's definitely, a lot of lessons, but a lot of love, a lot of love with it too. It's fun. And I think if anybody who wants to pursue something, go after it.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I think also the fact that when you're, and I think especially with one of the things that you commonly kept repeatedly saying is the fact that the quality, good quality product. And it's a lot easier to stand tall and be able to be very proud of what you're producing when it's something that you're providing quality products. So therefore, they're going to have quality results. So I definitely think that's very, very important when it comes to that. And I think it's true. It's a process. I mean, it's a journey, and you're going to have continued growth and as you go, and you're going to have the great successes, and you're going to have the times when you're going to be like, Jesus, why am I doing this? It's just kind of how it goes. I get that. So I know you talked about the whole idea of, and how you've evolved, and with the evolving of going from Kiss My Bath to Dope Minerals, the changing of product line and stuff like that. And as you've grown, created numerous other products. Like I know you still do the bath bombs, you do facial scrubs, you do deodorants. How important is it to diversify your product line once you've kind of built, I mean, because really the reason you're diversifying even more is because you've already built a stable product, and now you're kind of just saying, okay, how else can I add to this? Like, how important is it to diversify, whether it's your own product, even and even also maybe on social, diversifying how you kind of do things? How important is it that?
When I first started, I made a bug salve, I had made a lip balm, I had some body scrub, face scrub. So I knew I wanted to do natural skin care products. And that's a lot. You can really, there's a lot of stuff out there, right? But then with the magnesium, magnesium in a bug salve really, to me, didn't make too much sense. So that's why I kind of, you drop some, but then there was a lot of research that I was looking into for it as deodorant, because with a lot of the stuff that's on the shelf, there's aluminum and a lot of stuff that's in these products that are actually not very good for you. And magnesium will help to actually absorb the water as opposed to blocking the sweat. And that's a more natural process anyways for the armpits. And so I knew I wanted to have a deodorant. I had been using magnesium for my own personal and was having good results with it. So it was just in all in the timing too. I met someone else who was able to produce the deodorant for me and the bath bombs. It's just, you want to grow, you want to have more options. You want to be able to provide other products. The cream is obviously my number one seller. A lot of people, I don't even think they sometimes realize I have a face scrub and I have the face oil, because in smaller amounts, magnesium is amazing for the skin. I mean, it gets into your cells. It helps repair your cells. I use neem infused hemp seed oil. And that's the thing, using the natural plants and the natural herbs, they bring out certain things in your skin and can help you clear a lot of the stuff that you may be dealing with your skin as well. And I had seen, and that's the thing, it was really my own results, my own ways it was doing for me. And I knew, okay, well, it works for like this, let's see if it works for others. And that's kind of been the process with it. And the bath bombs and the deodorant are amazing. It just gives you a little bit more of natural options. I think a lot of people are starting to look at ingredients and seeing that, if you can't pronounce it, you might not want to put it on your body. And I see the proofs in the pudding for me when it comes to my own health, my skin, the way that my body responded to the magnesium, to my children. My daughter is a teenager, so her skin, and this is all she uses. So for me, the proof's in the pudding when I see the products really work, and knowing there's always an alternative, and to using a more natural ingredients, I feel is better for our health than to use a lot of the synthetic stuff that may be out there. And I want to be able to provide those options. I want to be able to provide those for others if they want to, prefer to use a more natural, holistic product than to something that may have more controversial ingredients.
Makes absolute sense. Where can people find you on social? How can they shop for your product or find you online?
You can go to www.dopeminerals.com. That's my Instagram, Dope Minerals, my Facebook, Dope Minerals. That's really it. Those are the only ones I use. You can sign up to my email. I run sales often. I am local in the state of Florida. I'm also retailed, and I think I'm in like 14 other states. A lot of massage therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. I have CBD stores that carry the cream. I have more natural food stores, stuff like that. It's been amazing. And that's been beautiful too, because a lot of the times it's my own customers that bring the product to the massage therapist or to the chiropractor, or I've met them at shows. And so it's been a lot of word of mouth, and I'm so very grateful that it truly is a way. It's been very grassroots. It's been very organically grown. And I'm the support that I've been shown is I can't say thank you enough, because it's been by far the best thing I've ever, besides birthing my 2 kids, it's been the best thing I've ever done.
And it's funny that it's grassroots, since obviously it's all natural and plant-based. So it would make sense that this is the way you grow your business. Um, well, that's her. Thank you so much, Gina, for being on the show. That's our show for today. Thank you to Gina from Dope Minerals for being on and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check out Dope Minerals online. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe. If you want to support, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads, and do some shopping and possibly tell your friends. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, guys.